Hey everybody, so today I want to jump into an exciting category in beauty. I want to jump into one that is very exciting for us e-commerce sellers. And this is a brand that has exited, a founder that has exited for over 600 million. I've been watching her interviews, there's a few on YouTube, and many of them have like a few hundred views, which is pretty incredible, right? That this is kind of the name of the game, this is what we all want, and ultimately it's not a popular thing. So hopefully I can distill that down. So stay tuned. I'll show you what makes Hero Cosmetics different. Credit where credit's due. And some of the differences, particularly for Amazon FBA sellers in Hero Cosmetics, which is predominantly an Amazon, I would say not only, it does have revenue coming in D2C and retail as well, but it is a brand that is, I would say, different than many Amazon FBA sellers and Amazon FBA businesses. And I'm going to distill that down here and show you how they've differentiated their product, how they differentiated their brand, the kind of mindset or perspective transitions or shifts here that I noticed from listening to Ju, and what makes it different. So hopefully you can start to learn, and I will learn as well along the way. So just for context, I'm a 7-figure entrepreneur, so I own a company selling products, i.e. building brands, and a company helping clients sell their products, and that's an ads agency. So this is a company called Hero Cosmetics. They started in 2017 by Ju Ryu. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And a beautiful brand. Many of you may have already seen it, but they have pioneered. They didn't create a product, but they basically built their brand around a certain product. So maybe Ju's seeing certain things in this niche. I know she mentioned overseas, but ultimately the opportunity is still to bring that to, let's say if it is USA, or bring it to a market and really make it your own, because this is easier said than done, and Hero Cosmetics have done that. So let's open up and have a look at their revenue currently in 2025 and see what we're working with, and then we'll do a deep dive into their Shopify and their overall strategy. If you can see a chair behind me, I dropped my camera into the pool yesterday, which is not the best moment of the week. Hopefully it dries out. I mean, I had the aircon pointing at it all day, for the last 24 hours. It's the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and I hope it's gonna survive. But I don't think there's any water resistance on the camera, which is pretty incredible. For a pretty, once it's expensive, you can get a lot more expensive cameras, but it was considerable, $800 or $900. Let me run this again because Data Dive seems to be struggling here. So these guys Ju exited in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. 2022, but they also interestingly took investment on in 2021, and I'll talk about why that is in just a moment. So let's see what the brand is doing now. So these guys basically pioneered, and I don't say pioneered in terms of they created it. I do believe it existed before, but they basically built a brand around it. So they became known for it. I don't think many people would think or come into this niche or this industry here around the acne patches and not think of Hero Cosmetics. And obviously now they're a global brand. One thing you will notice as well, which we're going to talk about throughout, is it's actually quite a low priced product. You'll see $17.99 the median price here. I do have some products above that, but it is quite a low AOV. And that is interesting as we talk about Shopify a little bit later on. But you can see here the top product, Mighty Patch, still leading the way. And you can see Mighty Patch in a lot of instances here. It's still the vast majority of revenue. They do have other products here, some more general cosmetics and skincare. However, you can see that they're not doing quite as much now. Still considerable. Still 7 figures, maybe 8 figures is possible. But compared to the Mighty Patches, their hero product, it is exponentially more. And just goes to show that really taking over a niche. I know this is obviously a key way with entrepreneurship, and I see this in multiple jurisdictions as well, whether it's Ireland or Asia and Indonesia and USA. But bringing a product that is already successful in another market to your market is so underrated, and it's where a lot of big opportunity comes. I see it time and time again, and they've certainly done a great job of it here. Okay, so we looked at the revenue. Let's have a look. Have we got any more notes here? So launched 2017, 100 million annual revenue at acquisition, dominated the acne treatment category. category I know a lot about. My skin is not great, but it was particularly bad when I was a teenager. Particularly bad. Multi-channel success. So Amazon, D2C, Target, and Ulta. Now, let's have a quick look at their focus SKU here first as well. Acne patches only for the first 18 months. Deep authority around a simple niche product. The Amazon review, search flywheel. Do the heavy lifting. Now, these guys went from Amazon only, rather than going D2C in terms of Shopify. And I know there's other platforms other than Shopify, but I'm just going to say Shopify. They went to retail after that. So they built huge revenue on Amazon, went to retail, and ultimately then launched D2C a lot later. But let's look at the hero product, because obviously we want to have a look at something that is pretty epic. So 175,000 reviews, so not quite as many as the last one. I think we had 365 on the last brand breakdown, but still a hell of a lot of reviews, let's be honest. Got a couple of different packs here. Does this make sense? Makes a lot of sense. We know, obviously, generally speaking, higher volume packs, there's more profit in it for sellers, for businesses. Let's have a look. So quickly, their title. I know they ranked for this with SEO on Google. Now that was back in 2017. I heard you talking about it. Google SEO maybe not as potent now, you would think, with ChatGPT, but maybe AI search is the way to go as far as coming up in these LLM models, as opposed to Google. But we know these things don't happen overnight. So it can still be a big opportunity. Shrink and zits, Whitehead. It's very simple, very precise, clean packaging. I'm a big fan of that. Got some lifestyle images here. Looks to be a real person. I don't think this is AI. And yeah, they've got the patch here. It helps protect. So shrinks one use. So very simple packaging. Very simple branding, very simple content here. But clean and works well. Obviously high quality image. I can zoom on this, which I can't say for everyone. 6 hours. So this would be big for many people, particularly if it's late at night and they want to wake up with the zit gone. Mighty patch would do it. The dream team, so some cross-selling action here. Works very well. And again, very simple. They're not overdoing it at all, the dream team. What's inside? Okay. So again, quite simple. You got some of the benefits here, or some of the features, I should say. What else have you got here? So what's not making the top fold for desktop? Prep your skin, place the patch. Very simple instructions. So we have original invisible surface. So this is really great. And I've spoken about it before, but being able to go into a niche, into a category. So maybe at the start, and I don't want to put, I'm not sure if this is exactly how it happened, but I would imagine at the start seeing products overseas, seeing that they're working well, having an idea, coming in here with the original. Now, there's going to be a lot of other patches now, other beauty patches, other brands, but taking that original one and then innovating based on that. The Invisible Plus, Surface, these are things that is just can really help you stay ahead of the curve, because competition is inevitable. But if you can stay 1 or 2 steps ahead, that's already enough. All the time you're building the brand, you're building the reviews, you're building the trust, you're building the credibility, you're putting great products into the market. These are things that like competitors can't take away from you. They might try and catch up, but it's very difficult. It is very difficult once you're already established in the market. Now, one unique thing which I really love about this brand, because it's something that's crossed my mind before as well, and I know other sellers I've spoken to, you'll notice they have trademarked the product name. So Mighty Patch, okay? Now, trademarking the product name is powerful. Why? Because if they are running ads, let's say, so you talks about a lot of PR publications, these are things you done at the start. If you're running ads, if you're getting visibility, you can now just get visibility for your trademark term, if that makes sense. So Mighty Patch will stick in people's heads. Rather than it just being like the best, let's say an acne patch, you're advertising for that, you're advertising for that, you're advertising for that. Competitors come in and start taking some of your sales. Now, if you're advertising on this trademark term, that will imprint in customers' brain, but it will imprint in their mind, and other people can't advertise on that term, which is hugely powerful. And I mean, you just got to give credit here. Coming up with the name and then getting it trademarked is a fantastic move. Really hats off here. It just makes so much sense. And what I'll show you here in the Google Trends, which is interesting. So I can see as far as the investments, they took investment in 2021. They sold, I know she's still involved as far as I know, but she sold in 2022. I'm not sure exactly. I think it was later that year. But look at the Mighty Patch has more search volume than the brand name. How fascinating is that? So a real hero product. The trademark term is the search term. Now, you build brand equity like this. People can't advertise on it. They can't use this term, you know? So you're basically cornering off the market. As Warren Buffett would say, you're building a moat around your product. Now, it might not be a hugely innovative moat, but it's still innovative to come up with terms, to come up with taglines. And it is your duty to get them trademarked. It is your duty to then maybe end up with a result even half as good as this is beautiful. Because you'll see that even as we go on through the years up till now, the Mighty Patch is still 3 times the search volume of Hero Cosmetics, you know. And they launch any product after this. You got your Hero, we get the visibility, it's profitable, it's working well. You launch any secondary products after this, you've already got the traffic coming in. You can advertise the Hero product and make a lot of profit off the secondary products. Now, I would imagine obviously the Hero product's still going to bring in the most profit, but to run traffic profitably is not to be understated, because once you can sort of raise the boats there or leverage that traffic, you can put it into many things. You can put it into a sister brand, secondary products, into an email list. So it can't be understated, the power in this. And again, maybe I'm getting a little bit too fanboyish or excited over this, but it's a job well done. You can't, it's just something that everyone can aspire to. So focusing on one product, deep authority, love this around the niche product. Then building credibility the whole time. Perfect product for Amazon search. Okay, it's just taking over these terms, building that moat, adding more products, innovating on the original product, even if you don't recreate the wheel on the first product. Innovating, adding things that makes it difficult for customers to catch up, you know. Becoming an authority figure in the niche. Mighty Patch optimized for pain point category. Brand. Minimalist white packaging, bold red patches. We're looking at the product and maybe we're spending a little bit less time on the listing here. But I do think it's a very simple, but not easy. It doesn't have to be the most difficult formula. House Protect, again, we've got this age-old kind of dual, I think they call it dual copy readership. You got the bullets. Like all caps where people might read, they might not read the details. Some people will. We've got that there too. A nice brand story. Again, everything is very uniform, very clean. You'll notice that does it mention our name here, which is good, or which is interesting. You'll notice the founder story comes after that, because you want the brand to stand up on its own as well. Even though Jew was very connected to the brand, I believe that was a concerted effort to stand back a bit then and not be so connected to it. Number 1 acne patch, again, I've mentioned this on previous videos, but when you get in there, when you carve that out, it just exponentially grows. You want to use that credibility. You want to use your reviews. You want to use your sales volume. If you can make claims like this, legitimate claims, you know, it's just going to add to more sales, you know. So it's, you see some cases where people actually have those sales volume, or they get into a market and they do really well initially, but they sit back and they don't do some of the things that you has been doing here. Adding that credibility, adding the statistics around their sales. I'd imagine this is sales. It is the unit sales. Trademarking the top product, adding secondary products within the niche first, and then outside of the niche. Because like I said, I talked about profitable traffic. If you can add more products into that niche or serving that buyer avatar, corner that off, make the moat really wide. So it's difficult for the competition to come in, then add the secondary products. Then your risk of being usurped is extremely low. Extremely low. Simple content, looking really good. We got a video here as well.
Oh my god.
Real people, so authentic, you know, and this is obviously the marketing that works really well. You want to see people that actually are authentic, and I think they've nailed it there, really. Very human video. Again, quite simple here. Not a huge amount of cross-selling, but they've got it here for people that want, and then Hero. It's a huge brand. So interestingly, in terms of methodology, you go back to like Donald Miller brand story or any marketing book, the customer is really the hero. And you have to be a little bit careful you don't usurp the customer and say like, we're great, our products are fantastic. You can have a little bit of bravado or a little bit of be a little bit cheeky at times, but you want to be careful you don't make yourself the hero, because ultimately it's all about the customer. So this big brand, I've had instances like this before. Maybe it works, I don't know. But it's It's definitely a huge logo on the page. Something to be a little bit aware of. So let's have a look here. We can pop back in here. Acne patch clean. Now, here's the juicy part that I've noticed in all these, studying a lot of these brands and studying a lot of these D2C brands and Amazon brands. This is obviously an Amazon predominantly only brand that has D2C as well. And the big thing here, which I got from listening to Ju, is she is, I don't know if she categorizes herself at this, but compared to many Amazon sellers, she's more of a promoter, a marketer, someone that wants to shout about the product. And doing this early on around that niche is a hugely powerful thing, because you build authority before anyone can even get going. She can get into fifth gear, really carve it out before the competitors start coming in, which they are there, but it's not affecting the business, or at least the moat is big enough so they can't usurp the business quickly. They can't impact the business hugely because they've built a lot of the key things around the products. Now, Ju talked about, and I hope I'm saying her name right, talked about reaching out to PR people, emailing 50 PR people every day, you know. I heard her mention this in one of the interviews, but really trying to get those publications, really trying to promote the products. Now, I think Amazon FBA sellers, generally speaking, are more operators, you know. They understand the value of the product. They understand the value of supply chain and inventory, because this is the name of the game on Amazon. Whereas I'm in D2C communities, and the D2C communities are much more marketers. They're much more promoters. So they might not actually understand the high level as far as the product development and the supply chain as good as, let's say, an Amazon FBA seller in my experience. But they're damn good promoters. They can run good creative. They can run good ads. Now, I would argue, while a lot of holds, and certainly not Hero Cosmetics here, because as I said, Ju had that sort of promoters, marketers mindset where she was reaching out to people outside of Amazon, trying to get publications, influencer marketing. I know that was very big here as well. These are things that not a lot of Amazon FBA sellers do. And I'm not here to, there's exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, I'm dealt with hundreds of sellers, maybe thousands. It's more rare. Now, I would argue to reach 8 figures and beyond, you need to have a promoter's mentality. You need to be a marketer. You need to understand good creative. You need to have a product that you can actually get those PR publications, that you can really stand behind it, get that alignment. I do think if you can get alignment, of course, you want to get into e-commerce to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can get into it while also be standing behind good quality products and products that you really believe in, and you're developing a moat around over time, I think something synergistic happens there. And I believe that's exactly what's happened here with Hero Cosmetics and Mighty Patch. You seeing something that was working really well, came in and really stood behind it, really built a moat around it, and stayed focused on this niche. And you can still see that they're obviously king of the niche, or queens, whatever you want to call it. But they are ultimately the standout product in this niche, which is huge. Now, let's have a little look at their ads library. Let's have a little look at their traffic. Now, I can see here the organic traffic, 70,000. They're not doing anywhere near the numbers on D2C from what I can see compared to Amazon. And I think a large part of this goes down to the AOV. The AOV, now they do obviously influencer marketing. They do obviously PR publications. These are things that actually just stay around. Really good use, build that authority. But their AOV is so low. So I know that they're not able to run hugely scalable ads. Or I would imagine they're not able to run hugely scalable ads on Meta, on TikTok. Now, there might be some maneuverability here, and the reason they would have maneuverability is because you're like CPM, or if you're thinking Amazon, CPM in this case, because you're going to be off Amazon, can be lower if they've already got strong brand equity. Now, if anyone's got strong brand equity, it's Hero Cosmetics and it's the Mighty Patch. So it may be a case that they can run some of these ads that we're seeing on the screen now because they're going to get lower CPMs because the brand equity is so good. It doesn't take as many views to make a sale. Their conversion rate is going to be higher. These are obviously things that will make a big difference. So let's have a quick look at some of these. Let me go to the older ones because, as we know, if they're running for a long time, chances are they're doing well. So UV, they're advertising their Mighty Patch, they're advertising their UV formula. Let's see what comes up here. 50 mil. It's in stock. 10 mils out of stock. One-time purchase. Again, very clean here. I like this. This is nice. Credibility. $20. I mean, it's a low price point, right? So it's hard to imagine these guys are going extreme on advertising. But again, maybe they've got enough brand equity so they're actually making good profit from these. Either way, they're probably allocating a huge budget to this, because at that level of the game, getting visibility and staying top of mind for a lot of customers is a huge thing. You know, there doesn't need to be direct ROI specifically on the ad per se. But if they look at the overall business metrics in terms of revenue growth each year, in terms of profit each year, they're going to get really good. Because what we've got to understand is us Amazon sellers are generally used to getting that. That's why it's cost per click. We're generally used to getting direct sale based off our ads, you know? So people will usually buy the product when they click the ad, or at least the conversion rates are quite high, maybe 10, 15%, can be sometimes 20% or more. This is not the case on D2C. The conversion rates are going to be a lot lower. Maybe 5% would be solid. Some stores have low as 2%. But there doesn't need to be a sale at this level. There's going to be people that are seeing the ad, so it's imprinting in their brain, or they're getting aware of the products, they're getting aware of the brand. They don't have to make that purchase initially, because if they've got huge business like this that's capable of having like a let's say 1 year later they make a purchase, or they then go in and get a breakout, it's going to be top of mind. So they might be seeing the ads, maybe not even clicking on the ads, but it's having an impact in their psychology, and then it becomes the only choice when they look at this type of product, when they have a breakout. Becomes the only $12.99 again. Now I don't imagine the products are hugely expensive, but so they might be working with like a really good margin, 60-70%, maybe more, maybe 80 or 90%. Maybe 90 is a little bit extreme, but even so I remember selling products for like $14, $15. You might be working with a 60% profit margin, but the dollars on that is still like, it's still like $7, $8, $9. On a dollar basis, it's very low. So even though your profit margin percentage is high, you just don't have enough dollars to advertise heavily. So I would imagine it's very similar here. They're sending them all to the product page. We looked at the last, if you haven't seen the last brand breakdown, check it out. We basically the brand did not have a product page, or at least it didn't have a product page. You couldn't find the product page, basically. It was very hard to find it. And that's because the brand equity was so strong that they wanted to get a direct sale immediately. So I don't see any landing pages here. I don't see advertorials. I just see direct to the product page. Let's see this one. Direct to the product page. Obviously, if it was an instance where there was some higher up the funnel and they were less aware of the products, it would make sense to have advertorials or landing pages to educate people. But again, brand equity is obviously high here, so they're sending people direct to the product page, even, as I said, with a low AOV. Looked at this one already. Interesting. So I looked at that already, didn't I? It's the same one. How about this? It's the same one again. Same one. So interesting. Quite low price points. Let me just have a look at this compared to, say, The Ordinary. Because The Ordinary has quite low price points as well, but it's an absolute juggernaut of a brand. Yeah, I mean, dwarfs it. Look at The Ordinary. Huge. Yeah, I mean, we were talking 30x the searches. Look at that. Well, obviously, it hadn't started yet. So obviously, The Ordinary's blown it out of the water. Okay, so we're getting an idea of what makes Hero Cosmetics so good. And one other thing as well, which I found very interesting, probably doesn't talk about it here in this. So they exited for 630 million, which if they were doing over 100 million revenue at the time, let's assume there was, I'm going to guess maybe, I have no idea. Let's assume it was somewhere between 10 and 50 million profit. Let's say 20, 30, maybe 30 million profit. Let's just assume 30 million profit, right? Now, if they exit for 630 million, that's a hell of a multiple, you know? Again, depending on what the profit is, I don't know. Be 20 if it was 30, 600. So like profit margin is a huge multiple. Maybe it was higher, maybe the profit margin was higher. In any case, why did they get such a high multiple outside of doing a lot of things right? Well, one thing I noted from watching the interviews is that you actually took on investment in 2021. So it was a small amount of investment. I think it was 15 million. And what this basically did was it brought on experienced operators into her brand. So it brought on people in the e-com D2C space that were experienced, and they'd sold businesses before, they bought businesses. And what it meant was they had a lot of contacts in banking, a lot of contacts in private equity, I would imagine. and in the D2C space. So when it came time to sell, they were able to really dig into contacts. They're able to really sell the brand from someone that understands that industry really well. And ultimately I would imagine, again, I don't know for sure, but from looking at it, I would say they got a really high multiple on this. But again, you gotta give credit to her. And that's something that she did. And obviously huge difference, performance. So I hope this was interesting. I hope you've learned something from the dominance here of Hero Cosmetics. And if you did, please hit the subscribe button. Like the video. Comment below if you picked up something different in this video. If you're a D2C guy as well, for sure, let me know. And Amazon sellers, let me know what you think. Maybe there's things I missed. And I would love to hear it below. And until next time,